Hello, everybody. This is Jason Small, the Executive Secretary of the Montana AFL-CIO. And today, in this edition of the Blue Collar News, we have Mr. Dan Delbolt, IBEW 532. And we're going to have a little discussion once again on the role that data centers play in Montana. So, how about an introduction, Dan?
Hey, Jason, thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. Dan Delbolt, Business Manager, Local 532. I'm an inside journeyman wireman. Been out here in Montana as a wireman for going on about 15 years.
Right on. It's getting to be a pretty good stint. So, I guess we can go ahead and get started. So, what role do data centers play in Montana and in today's economy?
Well, the way we look at it is it's industry, it's work, it's good work for our members. It is a thing that's happening. Whether we believe it or not, AI is here. I've heard people often refer to the AI push as our modern day arms race. And so that infrastructure happening in Montana it's fast, and there's a lot of misconceptions with it right now.
Right. Why, as a group of workers, why should we care about the growth of the data centers?
Good question. I guess the first part is that they are, it's a major driver for construction work and the future of not just IBEW jobs, but middle class working jobs. When data centers pop up, for every one direct job, data centers support approximately 6 other additional jobs in broader economies. So it is a lot bigger than just seeing that footprint. They help power cloud storage, hospitals, internet connectivity, obviously AI. So it's a big picture deal.
Right. And that's one thing that people always leave out. There's always a ton of subsidiary jobs involved in all of this type of stuff, too. So, also from a labor perspective, what's at stake as more data centers are built across the country?
I guess, what do you mean?
Well, do you see what do you see happening? What's the future with them? Do you think that's something that's going to maintain for a while and bring work in on the long term?
For sure. And misunderstood you at first. There's a couple ways to look at that, and that's the first part is that there's a large project that's going to happen. It can employ up to 1,500 construction employees for 2 to 3 years to build these things, and then everybody thinks that just goes away. And when you start looking at some of the footprints on these projects, I mean, a 6,000 square foot building, there is more jobs. Obviously, there has to be more jobs that are going to continue to maintain that facility. There's obviously the IT people. There's going to be the construction, the maintenance, staff there just to maintain the building. There's going to be facility managers. We're talking long-term jobs for communities that don't have 200 positions open. So additionally, on top of, like I said, the 2 to 3 years, you've got upwards of 100 to 200 people that could have full-time jobs working in these centers.
Right. And then, so that's once again a deal. There's always support industry involved around it. So you have more trucks coming in, you get another fuel station, right? You get enough people in the community, you have to put in a grocery store. So
right.
It's really hard to gauge what kind of job opportunities and things like these can bring, especially to more rural areas. So how stable do you think the jobs are on the long term?
I don't like to speculate in areas that I'm not super comfortable with or knowledgeable about, but we know that AI is not going anywhere, and it's not just AI. And I want to make sure that's out there. The things that data centers do aren't just an AI. They are, like I mentioned before, they are power. They power the cloud storage, internet connectivity, and other areas with that. So coming from the electrical side of things, it is not getting less advanced. We are moving forward. The technology that we have is moving at such a breakneck speed that we're going to need more to power that. And that's where these data centers come into play. So if you're asking if these things are sustainable, my answer simply is yes. I think that the need for them is sustainable.
Right. I mean, I have to agree with you. I watch everybody argue about them all day long on the internet and think, well, the more people I get in on this fight, the more data centers we're going to need. So
That's
exactly
right.
Kind of the irony involved with a lot of the stuff we deal with all the time. But
well, and that's the thing is it does, what happens right now, and there's a big push from somewhere, some group that there's a lot of effort being put into dividing what people say is the working class and the citizens of these communities. Keep in mind, we are the citizens of these communities. These are our backyards. You know what I mean? Like, there's not an IBEW member out there that doesn't want their community to be protected. And there is no disconnect between that. I fish, I bike, I go out and pretend to hunt. I'm out there as well. It is my backyard that I'm trying to take care of. And that's why it's important, very important, that this work is done, with the skilled and trained, because we're the ones that are the best trained. We're going to make sure that these things are built correctly, environmentally sound as much as possible, with our local workforce, so that we can take care of our backyards.
Right. No, that's great to add to the conversation there. And we've heard it time and I know I have. I've heard it time and time again. Well, you just want to do this or that. Well, no, I don't want to do that. I live
Right
here too,
We had a information that came out today from one of our other brothers, and just the way he said it is exactly, I guess, what I have been thinking for a long time, but never found the right words. So Mr. Penny said today, we're not pro data centers, we are pro worker. And that's kind of what it comes down to when we talk about this, is that, there's a lot of bad information out there right now and look, if they're done wrong and if they're in the wrong hands, absolutely, that danger is out there. We're not defying that. And I'm not supporting data centers. I'm supporting pro work, and I'm supporting my environment as well.
Right. And, the beauty of being in the situation we're in, we're also the people who can, we have the opportunity to help drive, navigate, and steer how these things actually go in, how they're built, and what they do. So
100%.
It's always important to remember that. So as far as work goes, do data center jobs typically offer competitive wages and benefits compared to everywhere else?
Absolutely. So one of the beauties of that is that when you get organized labor involved with things like this, what we are offering is, just the same thing that a lot of these local unions offer, is that competitive wages, job site safety, being able to work in your own state, and like I said, earning sustainable wages for your family, a retirement with dignity. If you look throughout, when these things are done, when any job is done within union or organized, and whether that be with a PLA or whether it be under a collective bargaining agreement, what was happening is that these wages are they are high road labor standards, with PLAs and apprenticeship utilizations. We have stronger safety standards. So yeah, I mean, those things are, we want the best workers out there doing this. And at that point, we're also going to make sure that they have the best compensation for what they're doing.
Right. So that brings up one of my next questions that I kind of had was, how does union involvement change the pay, benefits, or job security in the sector?
Well, when we can get, any kind of a job like this to commit to a project labor agreement, and we can help rise each other up in these jobs and in the industry, we have that collective bargaining power to get those wages and again those benefits set up.
With the the number of outfits coming into Montana right now, and there's quite a few data center proposals, but I mean, kind of a shocking number, and I've seen that weaponized, right? Because legitimately, there's only 2 or 3 that could actually occur, probably more like 2 of them. And people in the know kind of understand that, but how how open have the companies been for discussion about unionization efforts and whatnot?
Well, you nailed it. First of all, right on the head is that the information or misinformation and the rumor mill, for lack of better words, really has been weaponized. And when it comes down to it, it really is just a small handful of companies are doing that. And again, I don't want to speak out of my lane here, but the company that I've talked to in my area, my jurisdiction, has been incredibly open and forthright with their information to a degree. Listen, I understand that there are certain things that they can't share, not willing to share. It's proprietary. I get it. But as far as, give me the towns and the companies or the locals that you've worked with, give me some contact information. They have been absolutely wide open with that. I don't feel, in my opinion, that the conversations I've had with any of these guys been anything other than transparent. And I can probably speak on behalf of the other locals, the other parts of the state, to say the same. I know that there's a partnership that they're wanting to have happen here. So,
Right, and that's kind of been my experience too. They've all done a bit of outreach. It's been pretty easy to contact developers and talk to them when needed. So, um, do you know of any challenges that people have faced when trying to organize in the industry?
yeah, the challenges with this and the challenges with any time we're organizing, um, they're pretty parallel. I mean, there's a lot of the same conversations. There's the big bad union guys that come in and make you pay all this money, and they're not going to represent you. And it's just not true. I mean, it's just with any of these conversations, it's kind of the same thing. Look, we believe that everybody doing our work deserves the same pay, and we deserve this. Everybody in this industry should be paid with dignity, treated with dignity, and it's not always just about more money. It's about, like I said, the dignity, being on a job site, knowing that I'm safe, being able to say, something's not right, and I have a voice in the system, and above and beyond that, even when there's a group of people that are, collectively complaining about legislation and not knowing where to turn. I'll tell you what, man, the best way to do it is have a group of you with the same narrative. That voice just got way bigger. Instead of 15 people complaining about the same thing, well, now we got one big party doing the same. That's what we try to push. It's not always just about pay and benefit, which is, I mean, at the end of the day, kind of what we're here for. But at the same time, your concerns are voiced, your work is protected. You've got this family that can go together and get things done.
Right, power in numbers, definitely.
Absolutely.
So, as far as local community impacts, and this is one that seems like it's kind of out of hand oftentimes too, but when a data center comes into a community, what does that mean for local workers?
So quite a few things. I mean, so let's look at in my area, down in southeast Montana. We're talking in a community that has maybe 50 to 100 people that choose to live out there and want to be away from kind of the hubbub. They still have an opportunity to have an incredibly well-paying job with benefit, closer than driving into the city and settling for something. It's, when you have jobs like this, you're really not, you're just kind of opening the door for things. There's opportunity out there. I mean, I know that it can bring growth to a town. It can bring some, traffic. It can bring some tourism, but it can bring a lot of tax incentives into your town. I mean, now your schools have got some money, your playgrounds are getting funded, your roads are getting taken care of. I mean, there's definitely some incentives that come with having these builds happen in your backyard.
Right, and that's also one of the questions I have was how can a community ensure that they're actually getting some real actual economic benefit from one of these projects?
That's another one of those things that I think I know, but I don't. But I have a lot of people that I'm working around that we talk about. One of the things that I've learned with that is that it is pressure on your legislation, pressure on your commissioners, pressure on the people that you elected to be in office to have those conversations. I think that the businesses need to come in. I mean, we have never stayed away from having that conversation to say, if we come in here and you're going to do this work, you're going to support long-term growth. You're going to drive our domestic manufacturing. You're going to help create community benefit instead of taking away. We expect that. You're going to help make this community stronger because we're making your business stronger. That should be the partnership.
Right. And then, in your personal experience, I hear so much, read so much stuff on the internet anymore too, but these projects deliver promises on, job creation. If they're saying it's going to take, because, oftentimes I read just so much stuff, and there's people out there shouting from the rooftops that these only take 50 people to build and then 1.5 people to maintain for the next 25 years, and
Right.
just asinine stuff. But what's your experience with that? If they're building these larger projects like this, what kind of manpower are we looking at? Do you know?
Well, it depends, obviously, on the size of them. But let's say, with a 6,000 square foot or 6,000 acre campus, there's no way it's going to take less than 1,500 workers to maintain that, or to build that. Okay. And I know that this is really a kind of a crude example, but to maintain it, you're trying to tell me that 1 or 2 people can do that. My house is not 600 square acres. It is very much smaller than that. And there's 5 people that live there, and we can't maintain that. So you're trying to tell me that 5 people can maintain a 6,000 square foot campus. You're nuts. So, right. And I mean, all kidding aside, there are numbers out there that we can get that show the maintenance crews alone. I mean, the groundskeepers, the custodians, these are real jobs that people can get that our community would be employed by, not an out-of-stater coming in to take care of the maintenance on the equipment, not an out-of-stater coming in to take a maintenance on the outside of the building. I mean, these are real long jobs for our local communities.
What's a good way to ensure that the local people actually get to work on them?
Well, that's where we talk about having open conversations about, the labor bosses, the legislation, the owners of these places, 100% transparent conversations where we need to push as a building trades, as an AFL. Every voice needs to get involved to ensure that local work first. And I mean local work first, not somewhat local work. We have to maintain conversations and, again, transparency that ensure that these are the things that are going to happen with local jobs, that every voice gets to be heard, but real education goes out with that. Public concerns we talk about, or, with the real public concerns that we have, the water, the energy costs, all of those things need to be in that bucket too, that we're bringing forth with this. But it needs to be, it needs to be correct information, and it needs to be complete information. And we need to be able to talk about, the benefits of the community and our labor standards, and the local people need to be part of the decision-making process, 100%. But we need to have good local leadership that has our back on that. We need to have good local leadership that's willing to come shoulder to shoulder with everybody and make sure that, when this company comes in and says, we're going to hire locally, that we put the pressure on them. We do not allow that to be, an empty promise.
Right. So what kind of training or skills are required to become a worker at one of these centers?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a pretty broad canvas there, because anything, there's so many different trades that are going to be involved with this. So there are plenty of entry-level positions, as far as entry-level construction positions, to come in and get this process rolling. I mean, with a project act, or as long as this thing is, you could literally come in, get your feet wet, figure out if this is something you want to do, and then start making career advancements, i.e. apprenticeships, through this process. Or if somebody just wants to come in and stay at a certain level, absolutely. There are levels from like I said, the labor, brand new, holding the broom to, the guy running all of the work, flying iron and control panels and all that stuff. So I guess the broad answer is that there are opportunities for literally every level of construction work out here.
Right. I'm just hoping all the apprenticeship centers can keep up here directly if some of this work comes to fruition,
I'm with you. We're seeing a huge uptick in our applicants, which is great. And we're seeing the quality of applicants coming in has been amazing. Right now it's frustrating because we've got over 100 applicants that have gone through the process, that have gone through the interview, that are sitting there waiting for jobs. And man, I'm just dying to get these kids to work. Well, these are grown people, grown men and women, but dying to get these guys to work because there's so much potential with them. And there's potential out here with some of these jobs. We just needed to release.
Right. And I feel like the entirety of the building trades is on the same page. You gotta meter the inputs, right? So, you can only take so many apprentices in according to what work you have, but at some point there's going to be an overabundance of work and you won't be able to get apprentices in fast enough. So,
right.
It's one of them cart before the horse type situations.
Exactly.
Pretty tough to deal with. So, what role do you think the union should play in apprenticeship and training?
Well, as far as the training goes, we have an incredible setup with our apprenticeship program. Some of the top tier instructors and the curriculum that we have. I think that whether it be my trade or any other trade, the apprenticeship commitment is there, and I think that role should be there. Regardless of what job we're on. The future of construction should be in the hands of organized training. We're under certain, strict guidelines. We're under standards that we have to adhere to. If you want the safest workforce out there, then send them to the best schools, right?
Right. And who pays for apprenticeship training? Is there any out-of-pocket expense for these kids as they're signing up?
No, and that's what's the beauty of the IBEW apprenticeship is it's a joint, and actually our school is called the JATC, the Joint Apprenticeship Training. And so it's a joint between NECA, which is the labor side, the National Electrical Contractors, and the IBEW. And so the cost is shared. The cost is actually put forth by a lot of the contractors, and the commitment to the apprentices that are in there is to finish the schooling and stay committed to the program. Excuse me. There is no tuition cost up front or while they're going to school. There is cost for your books, for a computer. But no, when you graduate from an apprenticeship within the IBEW, you don't have student loan debt to pay back. What you have is a 5-year, apprenticeship degree. You've prepared and hopefully successfully taken your state exam, and you're a journeyman card carrying IBEW journeyman wireman.
Right. Excellent. So, I also hear a lot about all this taking everybody's jobs away and whatnot and what have you. Are you concerned about job displacement, or do you see new opportunity emerging from this data center boom?
That's what I see. I see job opportunities here in an area that we haven't had big job construction jobs. There's areas, Boise, Idaho is an example right now where they have got massive builds going on right now between their data center and Micron. There's workers, and this is the beauty of the workforce with the IBEW is that we'll gladly travel for work and go find some work in a new area that we want to check out and explore and go make some good dough and build up our retirement coffers and then head to the next one. So I don't see any workers being displaced out here. I do see a ton of opportunity for an area that hasn't had jobs these size since I can remember.
Right. So it is a pretty good opportunity. So there's a lot of environmental concerns that come along with these type of projects. So, and they use, it's obvious they use quite a bit of electricity, but how does that intersect with worker interests?
So again, that's another one of those opportunities for not only the community, the companies, the legislators, for everybody to kind of get educated and start spreading more of the whole truths. Look, the idea of rising energy and utility costs is a real thing. The first common claim is that those data centers are the bad guy. They can be, but it's not the primary driver of rising electrical costs. The what we're facing right now, and this is the truth, is we are facing an aging grid infrastructure, inflation, capital costs. We see peaks and valleys with the demand for growth, and that's obvious, but also with extreme weather and again, going back to an aging grid infrastructure, grid maintenance and replacement. So in reality, when you've got, and whether it be a data center or anything that's a large scale build like this, it's obvious that the client needs, they understand the end of it. They understand where the power comes from, needs to be stable. And so in some cases, some of these large users actually help lower the cost by spreading out the cost and actually picking up some of the maintenance cost on it to ensure that their end product is working as it should. The environmental impact, and this goes back to having the right people in charge of the right conversations. And so, and even in charge of putting work into this, is that when you have the work being done by skilled trades, we are, top of the technology. We're learning about, when it comes to the water, the closed loop systems. When we're learning about how we're building, digging, and putting the footprint down, we're doing this in a very environmentally responsible way. So, again, those conversations need to be told. The truth needs to be in it, 100% of it.
Right. No, I agree. So, as far as union jobs and whatnot, do you see opportunity for building even more sustainable infrastructure in the near future, or does this look like it's kind of what we have to look forward to for a little while? Is there anything else on the horizon?
This right now has been, and you mentioned it earlier, this has been the big talking point, and it's come on so fast. Like, it was a small conversation 18 months ago, and now it seems like this is all we talk about. Every conference we go to, every convention that we're at, this is it. And now, I don't know. I do not think that this is the only thing. I think that, again, going back to how fast the world of energy is changing, I don't think that this is the only thing. I think that there are some other areas of the industry that are going to develop quickly. But I think that this is going to help it. And I really do think that this is going to be, if not the backbone, it's going to be a very strong part of expanding the electrical industry.
Right. So, excellent. So, are you aware of, or do you think there should be any policies, or would you like to see a policy, I guess, that could better protect workers in this industry?
Absolutely. I am always going to be workers first in anything that we're doing here, because it gets very, very easy to, the first thing that gets abused is the labor that's out there. Very first thing that gets cut is labor benefit, pay, all that kind of stuff. I will always advocate for the rights of the worker, period, and end of story. So, and that is where, I am very, very proud to be part of the IBEW because of that narrative. It is the whole premise of the IBEW is built off of worker safety. And that's why we organize. That's why we came together so many years ago to say, no, we're not going to work under poor conditions. We're not going to work for the sake of working so somebody else can get rich off of our blood. And so, yes, to answer your question, 100%, I want to see policy and control in worker safety and worker rights.
Right. So, if we're going to publicly incentivize these, which, a lot of this stuff there's going to be federal money involved in some of them, whatnot, what have you. What do you think we should be doing to make sure that there's local labor or hiring standards? What should that be legislated, or what's your thoughts?
100%. Any help that we can get, and I don't know, maybe legislative isn't the right way to go with it. And this is another one of those areas that I'll fully admit that I am not, super versed on. My easy to understand, I guess, answer on that would be this: if you want to come and build in our backyard, we're gonna have our core musts, right? And those are the things that I talked about before with our labor standards, our apprenticeship utilizations. But if you're going to do that, I mean, the rules will be that we want to have local labor. We want to make sure that obviously we're taking care of our environmental, but the tax incentives or whatever, we need that money that you're going to be making needs to stay in our community somehow. And I don't know what that means, Jason. I really don't know how that works. Just to make it as simple as I can is that if you're going to come in and build these things here, yep, we want you here. We want to make sure it works for you. This is a partnership, but it needs to help incentivize our counties, and whatever county that thing is going to be in, whatever city that's going to be in, it needs to be better than it was before you got here. And that means obviously environmentally, but it also very much means economically.
Right.
And I know that that's not like the most poetic way of putting that, but that's the best way my brain will work saying it.
Right. No, that's community benefit standards and everything else involved with it's definitely going to play a key role. So, I kind of have one last question for you, and I know we've been dealing with these for a while now and fairly intensely for a few months. But if there's one thing you can change about the data center industry and how they've been rolling along now, as far as interaction or anything, is there anything you'd change up or suggest that they do to try to help make the situation better, or just help the process along?
100%. Yeah, I would say two things on that. Personally speaking, two of my core values would be transparency and leadership. And I feel like if a person can stick to those two, whatever else you do in the world and in life, you're going to be successful at it. Because, I mean, transparency sometimes comes with the fact that not everybody's going to like what you have to say. But I mean, at least at the end of the day, they know what your mission is, right? And then leadership, there's a million conversations we could have about that. So if these companies are going to come in and they want to do these things, have a conversation, be part of the community programs, be part of these town hall meetings, and show us what you can. I mean, I get it. I'm not asking for your financials, but I'm asking for what your commitment's going to be. Let people, the only reason that people are getting outraged and upset about things is because, for lack of better words, they're scared, and that's okay. And I don't mean scared in a weak way. They're vulnerable right now because this is our community. This is where we live. This is where we raise our children. This is where we raise our grandchildren. It is important. It is all of us. And so give us that opportunity to hear you. Give us that opportunity for you to explain to us exactly what the intent is and what has happened, mistakes or wins in other communities you've been in. The bottom line is this: we get it. Data centers they're essential to the infrastructure of our economy. We all understand that. We should also know that they're coming. AI is here. They're coming whether we like it or not. We would like to be, the choices that are made should come from us. How they're built, where they're built, and who's doing it. The focus on this should be building them the right way with the strong labor standards and the community benefits that I'm talking about. So I guess in a nutshell, to answer that question to the company owners that are in this, come in with your transparency and your leadership and give us the opportunity to tell you our concerns.
Yep, no, that's great. So, that concludes about every question I had about them. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, I really appreciate the time to do this, Jason. I think that, there's a lot to talk about on both sides of this. And I think that the more platforms like this that we have out there, the better. I mean, communication, conversation is always, it's the baseline of everything we've done as a civilization. So if we can keep these things going and make sure that we are, educating ourselves, and I think that everybody's going to see that the majority of all of us are on the same side. We have our different points. Some things are more important than others, but at the end of the day, we all want our state to be protected. And then, at the same time, let's get some benefits out of this. Let's raise up the cost of, or not the cost of living, but let's get a better way of living for our communities.
Right. No, constant improvement.
Yes, sir.
Well, we thank you a whole bunch, Dan. That concludes this session of the Blue Collar News, and hopefully we'll have you back on here when something else arises, because these conversations are always pretty enjoyable. So
I'd be honored, man. Thank you for your time.
You have a great one.
You too, bub.